good early evening, because I think that's where we are in the midst of. It's honoring and humbling to be here because I've seen magicians and scientists, I've seen food lovers and people who just love to do things, and I was completely, I changed half my presentation when I saw what's happening with social cops, etc. So this is partly ingenious, partly on the spur of the moment, but it's straight from the heart because that's how I normally like to be. There's a poem which most of us know when we were kids, and it was taught to us in school. There's just a few lines I wanted to share with you, which says, "Two roads diverged and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference." But whenever I think about that, and I think of the road less traveled, which is what most people talk about creatively, I wonder whether it's a mistake, whether it was a road less traveled, or instead, is it a roadless travel? Because very strangely, creative people, if they are truly creative, I believe don't follow a set path. They make their own paths. And if you have to make your own path, it's an absolutely unique land in front of you. You have the entire horizon in front of you and you decide where you want to go. Well, my journey started in a very strange manner. I once decided when I was in class 9th to be part of the debating team in my school. Now, the strangest part is that in our school, most people only take part in debates and become part of the debating team in class 11th or class 12th because that was the set norm. But I didn't know the norm. So I went when I was in class 9th and I prepared a speech, and everybody else looked at me and said, "You junior, you're coming here to debate? I mean, this is for the class 11th and 12th boys to do." And I said, well, no harm in trying. Let's set our sights a little high and try it. And I went there and I spoke with a lot of passion. I spoke with a lot of fire inside me. And I didn't make it. I went back home. I do believe I shed some tears. My mother consoled me. And the next day, my vice principal, who was in charge of the debating team, actually called my mother and said, "Listen, he tried, which is what is most amazing. And maybe next year and maybe the year after that." Lo and behold, 3 days later, the boy who was in the reserve speaker in the team, gets taken in by typhoid. And they needed a speaker. And suddenly I found myself on the team. And there I was, having aimed for something which was too high. And just because nobody had told me that I couldn't aim for it, I managed to do it. I was the youngest debating captain in school. I got debating colors for 3 years in a row. And it was simply because no one told me that you couldn't do it. And I think one of our biggest problems is the fact that when we are born, one of my friends once told me, he said, "I thought my name was No." He said, because anything I used to say, my parents used to say no, no, no. We've got to learn that in life there is a lot more than just that. When I actually wanted to say no to something, I was a science student. I was studying biology. I was looking inside a frog, and suddenly I didn't like it. And I went to my parents and I said, "Listen, I want to do something different." And they said, "What do you want to do?" And sitting around and having a cup of tea, and I think tea is a wonderful tradition, sitting around and doing it with your family is something I wish many of you could do. Sometimes we don't manage to do it. And all my father did when he heard me saying I want to do something different is, he showed me his passbook. I don't know how many of you remember there's a passbook in which, all the accounts are written. And he showed me, he says, "Beta, we are both teachers. We have limited funds. This is what we have available. Anything else you want to do, we're very happy to let you do, but you've got to do it on your own." And it's wonderful when someone sets you a boundary, which is finite, because then only you know how high you need to leap outside of it. And that's what's critical. So that was when this storm in a teacup happened. Everybody else in Lucknow suddenly branded this science student who wanted to do something he didn't know, a black sheep. But my parents didn't. They believed. I moved to Delhi. I went on to radio. I went on to doing some television. I went on then to set up an agency because there was no event agency in those days. I now run a rather large event agency. It's India's most awarded. And I only say that because at that point in time, when I was on this journey to discover a path, it was something new I was doing. So I said, okay, I'll tell you what. What do you do when you go on a trek? Sometimes you stop and you light a fire. And when you light a fire and it's bright enough people come and join you. And they become part of that virtuous circle. And that's what happened. People joined, people became a part of this journey, and we grew and we grew and we grew. So build campfires on your creative journey to attract fellow travelers. It always helps. Say yes before you learn to say no. 2 years back, 3 years back, I also got into the movie making business. And somebody said, how did you plan it? How did you get Shah Rukh Khan to produce your film for you? How did Red Chilies come and become a part of it? It all happened because I got a call from somebody who was working with Shah Rukh at that point and said, will you host a show with him in Dubai? There's no budget for it. And I said, hosting a show with Shah Rukh, I've done quite a few with money being paid. Yes, I'll go and do it. And when I went there, we had 2 hours before the show and there was nothing to do. And we started chatting. And in that conversation, I told him about my script. And he said, listen, we'd love to do it. And that's when it happened. Too often, this word no gets in the way. So say yes to many things that sometimes scare you, that sometimes you've never done, because that will make your journey a lot more unique. At your age, learn to say yes to different experiences, to different food, to different ventures, to different music, to anything that you find, because that can be all the difference that you need to make. I would love to tell you that I've been a success at everything I did. I have made terrible television shows. I have set up a radio academy, which after 2 years, a radio station set up a bigger academy, and I had to shut it down. But if you fail fast, learn from your failure, and then move on. The problem is, many people are so busy hiding their mistakes that they never spend time correcting it and moving forward. Fail. There is no harm failing. Failing teaches you the best things in life. And it actually teaches you the meaning of true friends. That's what's most important, I think. Many of us, when we go out to camp, we've got 2 foodies, and I think that's why I got this food slide in. What do you feed your mind? My problem with the access of information, and when I say access and excess of information available to you, is you retain so little. What do you feed your mind? I spend 2 hours every day in the morning reading, tweeting, sending out things that I found interesting to a group of friends. But that is what you feed yourself. On this journey of life, don't stop feeding your imagination. I think many of us just get constricted to what is given to us, to what is told to us, to what we are supposed to read as part of the curriculum. Once try and read something outside the curriculum. Once try and contemplate some unique path that you haven't traveled down. It really makes for some unique experiences in life. On any journey, you need a compass. But I think in the journey of life, a moral compass is the most important thing. I was doing television, and while I was doing television, as part of a television show, which wasn't a very good show at that time, it was running on DD Metro, it was called IBP Ustad, and it had good film stars, and I was interviewing them, I had access, we managed to do the show. I got a call from someone in the government. And the person called and said, the minister loves your show. It's absolutely fantastic. We want you to do something along those lines for our ministry. And I was like, it's not even a good show. Why is he saying it? And the person said, no, you must come and meet us. I said, let's just have a conversation. And he said, what we'll do is, why don't you do it in such a manner? What's your budget going to be? And I said, my budget is X. Why don't you add a little bit more to the X, and then we can all be happy, Adjust kar lenge. And this word adjust is something that really puts me off, because I find it to be such a strange way that how we bend our moral compass so often. I am proud to say that I have never bent my moral compass, because I sleep with the memories and laughter of my friends and not with a burdened conscience that tells me someone's going to knock on my door and haul me in for something wrong. We sold our company to an American firm. We made a lot of money. And suddenly, I had lots of bankers telling me how I could do things to get this money outside and not actually pay something on it. And I said, hey, hang on. I made it rightly. I'll pay for it rightly. There is really no issue in doing something like that. And I tell you one thing, I sleep a lot lighter than many other people that I know. Look at this. And if you can, from wherever you're seated, what are the words that you can see? It is said, and you'll find this on the internet, that the first 3 words that you see in this chart is what you're looking for in life. Yeah? You'll all see different things. You'll all see different things. One or two more people. Somebody saw love, life, time, popularity, health. I'm just trying to tell you one thing. Very often in life, people tell us what they see. If everyone sees things differently, how can someone else see for you? Look for yourself. If you're walking down a path, would you be led blindfolded by someone else pulling you along, or would you find your own way? If you're out to find a roadless travel where you are going to make your way, try and find your own path and see what you see and define it for yourself. Because again, one of the big problems we have, and particularly in the Indian society, I was talking to some people here and they said, typically IIT, management, science, the world is open to you for so many more things to do. When I finished my film, I had, someone said, 7 careers. I'd won 7 awards. I actually traveled 7 hours to be here as well. So 7 seems to be, in a strange way, a number that brings things together for me. But I had suddenly run out of a set of goals. And it's so strange. In your creative journey, you suddenly reach a point and you say, now I've done it, now what's next? At a time like that, remember that the finish line is just the beginning of the next journey. When somebody climbs a mountain, they look from that peak and see other peaks in front. See other peaks. Find an ever-continuing finish line. Finish a race, pat yourself on the back, and move on to finding the next finish line. There is not one constant finish line in life. That is something you must always remember. Many a times, people ask me why I did some things in my life. So why did I set up this radio institute? And why do I like taking workshops of all different kinds? Why do I travel miles and kilometers to do these kind of things now? I said, it's very important to leave footprints along the path you made, because otherwise it'll become wild very soon again. So when you've beaten a path, create a map. Leave your footprints. Show other people that path, because the beauty of creating a path is that when there are so many other people who come and become a part of that route, that's when you're a Christopher Columbus. That's when you're a Magellan. That's when you're someone different. Even if you didn't find what you were looking for. Remember, Columbus was looking for something else. He found something completely different, but you still remember him for it. The beauty is, create that path and let that become the barnstorm for other people to follow, as it were. We are all born with wings. It's just that sometime along the path, we forget that we have those wings. I come from Lucknow, which is a small city. I moved to Delhi, I moved to Bombay. Today I have touched the world in many places and been to places that when I talk about to friends, they are amazed at saying, how come? Because at no point did I leave my wings behind. And I'll tell you one more thing. Sometimes your own wings stop flapping. But have you seen that when geese fly together, it's very unique, it's a strange story, but when geese fly together, the formation they take is so unique that the uplift of all their wings lifts everyone else around them. And the geese that is in front, when it is tired, actually goes back in the formation and goes to the back. And then someone else leads. You can't always be a leader. There are times when you will really need to step back and be the person behind. But the uplift of all those wings around you can lift you a lot higher than your own wings alone. And that is absolutely important, and which is why I believe having a virtuous circle in life is important. There is no straight road. There is no straight path. There are many times that people go down a road and turn the other way around. But there is no shame in that. It is important to make those mistakes. What I was talking about, many people at some stage in life, and we live in such a materialistic world, many people at some point start describing their life by the circle of affluence that is around them. I read a beautiful commercial once which said, do not mistake your self-worth with your net worth. Your self-worth is very different from your net worth. And don't have a circle of affluence, have a circle of influence around you. Surround yourself with some unique people. I met such wonderful people today. If I could only carry them along with me in life, it would be fantastic. And which is why the latest thing that I'm working on, being an artist at the age of 43, having tried all these different paths, I have created this virtuous circle of influence. And it is called something which we refer to as the commune with a K. And it is just creative people who meet. Singers, actors, dancers, musicians, people who are on their own life journeys, and we all meet and exchange ideas. We exchange thoughts. Nobody criticizes. Everybody does it together. We are now trying to build it into a next level platform. And what happens at the end is some miraculous ideas come out of this. And what we've also done is we've taken a set of people who have done well in life and who are not too attached to money. And all of us have put a little bit of money to build this commune, which is going to fund creative ideas. So I also am part of another group, but that is purely from, a venture capital point of view. But this is something which I'm absolutely passionate about fueling these creative journeys for people. For your generation, I want to say, and this is something which day before Shekhar Kapoor said at a conference. He said, the problem with social media is that it gives this generation a lack of inertia. Rather than meet a friend, you can poke them. Rather than actually go out and wish them happy birthday, you can send them 30 different kind of bouquets. They're all virtual. They don't cost you a rupee. It's a weightless economy. But roads are not made by just virtually clicking on things. Roads are made when you actually step out there and take some action. And that is what is important to do. So in this virtual world, remember, technology is a verb. You are the creative spirit who can take that technology and move forward. It is just a tool. It should not become the end. It cannot become the end. There must be a physical way. And I'd like to end by just saying that in an era of digitization where you have got this data smog around you, where you're surrounded by information, where you lead two lives, a virtual and a real, don't forget the digits. Because the digits I'm talking of are those, not the numbers. These two are digits. And if you reach out and actually make a physical connection with someone, that is when you truly understand the power of coming together as creative people. The one beautiful thing about creative people is that if they are truly creative, they give very freely. And I really love that about creative people. They don't ask how much is in it for me. They say, how much can I do? What more can I do? So go out, do something unique, light that fire, make that road, because only then will you go down the roadless travel rather than the road less traveled. Thank you.